Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the JonBenet Ramsey live Q&A. I am Dean Ryan. I'm the filmmaker of this short documentary, and this is really a subject I haven't really gotten into in a long time. And making this really brought back some memories and I want to say intensity that I felt during that time. It was really something out of this world. So I want to welcome everybody who is here tonight. John R. says, whatever happened to the judge? So that's a good question to start off with. Really, actually, it's like we planned it, but we didn't. So the premise of this short documentary, which really, when I filmed it, when you saw me reading, that was something, I want to say that was 2019, summer of 2019. And I had been sitting on these documents for quite some time. I really didn't, have an outlet. I wasn't doing any shows or anything, but, I was more in the film realm and trying to go the like television series, film series, all that stuff. So nothing ever occurred to me that maybe in the future I might do something with this, because there was nobody was biting. In fact, one of the top, I should say a top news guy said, Dean, that's just not something I want to get into here with my organization. It's a very dangerous thing, and it really muddies the waters and what we're trying to do. And so yeah, I was kind of a lone soldier, and I had like a Facebook public page that I wasn't really doing much. But the documents that I had are the following. There was a municipal judge in Boulder, Colorado. His name was William Long, Bill, as if you recall from the film, and he was dying, and he had cancer. He had a very aggressive form of cancer, and the kind of cancers you see that Hugo Chavez had, the Jack Rubies. We can make a case that Boris Johnson in the UK has, as we revealed on another show that I do. But it was very unusual, and he knows he was given indeed a cancer virus. He believes he was poisoned with it in his food. So to answer your question in short, he passed. He right after he was saying all this. He didn't go much longer, but his story now is forever living, amongst us, as long as we are the ones who can keep carrying the torch for him. Whether we're filmmakers or not, we now know the truth, or we know an angle that is never discussed on the mainstream. So I'm sorry, again, because I think about that time, it was just so intense and very dangerous in a sense. So I was in Boulder in 2017. I was with a colleague, and let me see if I could play the film in the background so you could kind of see the neighborhood that I was walking through with another person at the time. And no plans of going here. It was not something I got into, this story of JonBenet Ramsey. But getting into it, you could feel the satanic vibes, as I tried to articulate in the film. And there was a car, we were told, be careful if you're in front of the house. There was a car that kept circling us as we were filming, but we saw a statue of a little boy doing like this with like a bird. It was a statue right in front of the house, and it was split in half and just laying there on the ground. And it was the most eeriest thing I've ever seen. And it was just terrifying, because it brought me back to 1996 of the JonBenet story. I remember, I was rather very young at the time, but it consumed the headlines. Who remembers that? Who remembers 1996 Christmas? I want to say Christmas Day. And like many people around the world, we were very sympathetic towards the parents. What a terrible thing to wake up and find that your daughter is now dead. Okay, so, but the holes in the official story and the investigation are so next level and beyond comprehension. So I have to ask, how do you not question the official story? Just like a 9/11 official story or any of these things, how do you not question? So when you hear the JonBenet Ramsey story, you hear always two things. Oh, it's some pedo guy in Indonesia, some, out of this world kind of narrative. Or it's the brother, Burke, who was only 4 or 5 years old. He wasn't very old. So you're supposed to just use those two, because how dare you say, oh, it's the father or, someone close to the little girl, because you get, that's the protected class. We talk about that. Anyways, before I go on, and I'll continue, let me get to some more questions. I have a tendency to overlook stuff. So I promised that I would do this. So let me try to stick to my word here. So anyways, hopefully, John R., you got more than you bargained for in that question, but thank you for asking. So here's another one. This one's from Angie of UK. Hello, Angie. Our very, very dear, sweet Angie. Yeah, she's one of the regulars from my daily show. What was your first thoughts on this case when it happened before this knowledge? Well, I think like everyone else, your first thought is, who would have done this to a beauty pageant girl, So you want to think maybe, was it some perpetrator, whoever it was? So that was, but I was like, I was like a young teenager at the time. So, I wasn't really that complex of a mind yet. Now later down the road, when the parents got questioned and stuff, so, it started turning a little bit. But John Ramsey, and I'm going to get into him a little bit tonight because he likes to get into others. And I'll explain what I mean by that. There's a very eerie story that's the underlining story to this whole thing. So hopefully, Angie, that answers your question. So here's another one. Glenn, hello, Glenn. Says, Dean, have you had any pushback or other? Good question. So this is what happened at the time. Okay, this is how, if anyone knows my stories and what I've been through, and even as recently, then these kind of like supernatural kind of things and scenarios happen to me. So in Boulder, as I was given these documents, weird things started happening. So we stayed at a lodge in Boulder. We stayed at a hotel. They're all like lodges or whatever. And by the way, I've always felt creeped out in forest, in very woodsy areas. I've never felt comfortable there since I was a little kid. I've never really liked it. I mean, in the daytime, it's cool, but I really don't want to ever live in the forest. And after going to Boulder that time, and then I want to say a year and a half ago, yeah, for sure, I'm never going back to Colorado ever. But my phone would turn off and on, and just that was one weird thing, but two very, very weird things happened subsequently after this. Well, the first one, besides the phone turning off and on, was my girlfriend at the time started receiving phone calls, random phone calls, and she would pick it up, and there would be a voice on the other end saying, if you know what's good for you, stay away from Dean Ryan. And so that was one of them. And quite frankly, and I don't mean to make light of it, but I wish he would have called me and would have said, stay away from her, because that would have really helped me in the long run. But anyways, she's pretty evil. So besides that, the second one was, so I had all these very weird things happening to me going into 2018, after 2017. And just, little things to mid and, with my life and career. So I asked somebody who was, in touch with the afterlife. And I would ask, I would say light workers. I was really searching. And I said to one of them, I said, what's the problem? And she told me, I'm going to speak to my mother, who really is bona fide the best. I'm like, okay, cool. So she asked her mother about me and like, what is going to happen to Dean? Is going to be okay? And all these things. And she returned and responded. And she said, Dean, I have some news for you. This is what we know. And she said, there are three people of the dark arts that want to wish you ill will. And there's also a person close to you who is not your friend, but very close to you, and you could work together. Or, I mean, you work together or something in a capacity that's very close. They're not really your friend. And if anyone really knows me here, I think you know who that is. So that aside, so she said there's going to be some bad things that are going to happen to you, but there's going to be one really bad thing. So subsequently, after that chat, several months later, my grandfather died. My grandfather died in April 17th, 2018. And it hit me. That I'm like, wow, that's the heavy one. And so he was my father. So that was hard. That's what, it's kind of hard to talk about this. But so that happened, it was a bad thing. So, but since then, I mean, I've had some very bad luck and I've had some very good luck. So it's like a 50-50 kind of balance here. I mean, I'm in these situations. I was in Boulder. Somebody gives me this. I'm not too far from the house. It's crazy. Now, just to end the story, I'm going to go back to questions, but this is much, like lots of words. This is even weirder, pardon the English, than a lot of this. It's who bought the house, who bought the Ramsey house in 2004, okay, was the daughter of one of the most famous Christian ministers in the United States. And he was the head minister at the Crystal Cathedral in California, in Orange County, actually. And I'm going to say Anaheim. Huge, beautiful building. Been there twice, maybe. In fact, it's so beautiful that they even use it for graduations for high schools. That's how great it is. So the daughter bought that house in Boulder, Colorado, the daughter of the minister, of a cold case situation here that's not been, quote, solved yet. So just think about that. Think about who we're talking about. We're talking about Satanists. Yeah, they masquerade as other people. And we'd be surprised. I'm surprised, actually. Anyways, let me try to get to another question. See, Glenn, give me an inch. I took 5 miles. Glenn has another. Yeah, Glenn, I think I answered your other question. Trouble from making. Okay, Glenn, you asked another one. Have I had trouble since I've made the documentary? No, I haven't. I mean, maybe I have. I'm not thinking about it, but I will say this. When I first put out the original footage of me walking in front of the house in 2017 on an older show I was doing at the time, I actually was warned by one of the main investigators, one of the first investigators on the scene, I believe, or independently in 1996. He said to me, Dean, watch out, because you're going to get a lot of pushback, a lot of hatred and stuff happen to you. And I said, by who? By who? Because I wasn't really invested in him. By who? He goes, by people, like a firm hired by John Ramsey. And that's exactly what happened. And on the YouTube video, the original one, there'd just be hate-filled messages that were of no substance, no intellectual honesty or nothing, and I was just a messenger. I wasn't making anything up. I'm just, providing a message, a portal, and it would be people, just like the most ridiculous slander ever. And, they were trying to give it more downvotes, and, people do that. And it could be just one law firm with like 10 people or 5 people there that have like 20 different sock puppet accounts. This is what these people do. But it's who John Ramsey is. It's who he's connected to. It's where he worked that needs to be within, we have to question it. We have to look into it. And then, look into the Boulder police. See what this film did, by the way. This didn't just tell you about the JonBenet Ramsey case, which, we definitely went right into the heart of it. What it did was it really described and articulated the entire apparatus of the people that, the cabal, if you will, the structure of it, not the symptom. JonBenet Ramsey is a symptom. She's a victim of this, but she's a symptom of a dystopic, demonic infrastructure that is not just plaguing Colorado. No, this is plaguing everywhere in the United States, everywhere around the world. Definitely, the Commonwealth. What the Satanists have done, they have literally put their people in power positions of influence. So when it comes time to just completely flip the script on this world in reality as we know it, aka global reset, that they'll be there to steer the ship. So they knew what they were doing for a long time. This has been a plan of theirs. But I mean, they have underground tunnels in the Boulder police station. Who remembers that? Okay, so anyways, so here's John R. again. Does JonBenet tie into what Ted Gunderson was investigating? And I'm wondering, like the McMartin case, tunnels under school, Franklin cover-up. Yes. Okay, John. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even see that. I kind of answered that, but let me reiterate that again. So I actually have I went to Boys Town in Nebraska. I did a whole piece on that. It's missing. Somebody deleted it. I know who it is. And that was eerie too, actually. But the underground tunnels that went from Boys Town in Nebraska to the White House, which tells you, yeah, there are tunnels under the White House. There are kids that have been funneled under the White House since the 1980s that we know of, probably further back, probably up until, God knows when recently, or they've discovered it, which makes you beg the question, is that why DC's on lockdown? Is that why there's a jail, prison around the White House? Different story. But I will say, what the one investigator who did contact me, he told me his theory of what happened to JonBenet Ramsey. He believes that she was flown, I swear to God, he believes that she was flown back from the White House that very morning where she was discovered. Could be, because look at the police report and all the footage from 1996. So the cops get to the house, and that house that I was standing in front of in Boulder. And only, I believe, John Ramsey's there. And naturally, when there's a homicide and the police arrive at your home, you're not allowed to just like go and all over the house, maybe rearrange things and hide things. No, you have to be monitored, you're chaperoned and all that. Oh, no, not John Ramsey. No. He got to go into his basement with nobody monitoring him and does God know what? God knows what he did there. It's eerie. This is very eerie for me too, because it brings me back. Been through a lot of eerie stuff. So anyways, yeah, he believes that she was flown back from the White House. Now, who was president in 1996? Yeah, Bill Clinton. That should tell you everything right there. Or Hillary Clinton and him were in the White House putting crack pipes on Christmas trees for ornaments. Okay, so and we have some really thoughtful questions. Let me try to get into this. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is an interesting little angle. World Economic Forum Barbie. She asks, what do you think Lin Wood knows? Now, Lin Wood, if you're unaware who Lin Wood is, Lin Wood, he was in the President Trump legal counsel for a while. And as of recently, and I'm going to say since the election and a little prior to, he has been releasing information that really brings down the house on the satanic cabal in the United States and the players at hand. However, and I'm not indicting anybody, but I'm literally just stating, and I'm with kid gloves, he did represent the Ramseys as their legal counsel, their lawyer. Now, to this day, and to my knowledge, maybe it's changed, maybe it will change after this movie. he has proclaimed the innocence of both John and Patsy Ramsey. So we have to come to a conclusion on several things. Either number one, because Lin Wood's a smart guy, that he has such a close personal relationship with, I believe, Patsy Ramsey. I think Patsy Ramsey is originally from the South. So, she's like a, Southern belle, and I believe Lin Wood is as well. And if that's the case, maybe he got caught up in Patsy's alibis and stuff. Because look, I'll be honest with you. You can watch Patsy Ramsey, who is passed. She's no longer with us. You could watch her right now in her interviews, and it seemed very sincere. So this could be a case of that. Hey, you know what? Maybe she didn't know. I mean, who wants to know? Or maybe she knew something was going on. I mean, the child, she was having UTIs at the age of 5, 6, 7, or 6, sorry. Yeah. That's usually the tall tale sign for child molestation. So that could be it. Or there's the other factor with Lin Wood, and I don't want to say it, but maybe he's in on it. I don't know. So we have to draw those two conclusions. Maybe it will change. Maybe he's finding the light, and after everything he knows now, that, hey, yeah, there's something very odd about Boulder, Colorado, especially that house, especially that family, especially that man, John Ramsey. That's the conclusions I draw to. Anyways, which is Nurse Jane's next question: what role did Patsy play in this? That I don't know, but let's look at what we do know about the potential role of Patsy Ramsey. Now, Patsy has been accused of being a part of the perpetrators in the sense that she covered up and wrote the letter from, remember, there was like a ransom note that was left at the bottom of the stairs that very next day, that very next morning. And oddly enough, they literally named the ransom figure, the sum money that they wanted was the exact sum money of the John Ramsey Christmas bonus that he got. Who remembers that? Now, how in the world would anyone know that unless they, number one, worked with them? Or number two, they were there in the house when it happened. But then they muddy the waters and say, well, the 5-year-old Burke did it. He hit John Bonet over the head. And subsequently, too, if you watch the film, there's that other murder, the homicide in that area tied to it. And I really put that in there so you could see these anomalies and how they are related, how they're very much alike, how it's always the police that are just bumbling around. They fumbled the case again. And it's important to know that. So anyways, thank you for that question. So somebody said Michael Aquino sure did his job. Yeah, he's a sick man. Okay, let's see. Any more questions here, or we're gonna end it here. Okay, let me just. All right, here's a question. Ashley J. Ashley J says, I miss certain parts of your doc. But wasn't there something about boot prints? Boot prints, okay. Yeah, I do recall there was boot prints in the snow. And that was interesting. There were boot prints in the snow. And yeah, but I vaguely remember that. But yeah, I do remember something about boot prints. Julia Size, thank you for joining us. What about the Podesta brothers connection? Well, there could very well be a Podesta brothers connection. Good old Skippy there, John Podesta, who for some reason proactively, no joke, I have the screenshot to do it. He blocked me on Twitter. That POS him. So this is why, and by the way, this coming Sunday, you're going to see the conclusion of the Underground Traffic, the part 2, that we have now had the green light to release. And that's why we're doing the John Bonet documentary now, the short documentary. But let me explain John Podesta and the role that him and his brother played, and I'll throw Chelsea Clinton in there too. I want to say, in the wake of this, in the wake of the JonBenet story, the tragic story, is you saw the 800 numbers come out of if you have a missing child, or if somebody, your daughter or whatever's missing, we'll call these 800 numbers, and we'll tend to your needs. Well, this guy, John Podesta, and his brother, who are involved in the Kaylee Anthony, now I want to say the British girl, not Kaylee Anthony. It will come to me. I'll see it here in the chat. They were involved in that, missing child's report. So John Podesta, who's the son of a Rockefeller and a victim himself, they set up all these hotlines to then find out who's complaining, what your cross streets are, tend to your needs by showing up at your door and making sure you kill yourself. Yeah, that's why I did not. I was in a situation here that if you're unaware of it, underground traffic, you're going to see the second part. Similar situation. People don't understand. Their first emotional tendency is to call authorities. But how do you call the very same people that are involved in the crime itself? Madeleine McCain. Thank you, Maureen. Hard to remember names. But as far as the JonBenet's case is concerned, John Podesta, there is a Ghislaine Maxwell connection. And I knew what it was. I think it's something to do with a similar law firm of John Ramsey's new law firm is connected to hers. There is some kind of connection, but I believe the real connection in the Bushes, you'll find out the more you dig into this, the Bushes are involved, is that John Ramsey worked for Lockheed Martin as a defense contractor. Now, when you hear defense contractor, you want to say to yourself, if you don't know what it is, usually you want to say, oh, like the people that make buttons and stuff, or, cranes or something. A lot of that is code. Like if you recall the Iraq War in 2003 and onwards a little bit, you'd always hear a defense contractor, and you would see the videos too, like these defense contractors driving their trucks getting shot at. A lot of that's code for CIA. Defense contractors, CIA. So there's that connection here. CIA, FEMA, all these people, Lockheed Martin. They make all the stuff for the wars that nobody wants. John R. said, family courts are involved in the trafficking. Yes. CPS. Yes. I actually had another interview that I completely lost as well. I interviewed a victim of CPS. And he talked about exactly what you just said. He talked about when he was 7 years old, CPS, they were wearing the red demonic robes and forcing him to fornicate with his sister at the CPS orphanage, wherever that is. They were abandoned. So the Satanists go to the big institutions. The bigger the institution is, the bigger the protection is, because you blackmail everybody to be on your level, whether they know it or not, or want to or not. And then you keep them in line, keep them in check, make sure they don't vote for anything that you don't want, make sure that they keep their mouths shut, everyone's compromised, everyone plays ball. That's politics. That's how the world really works. And children are the currency. Now we know it. Now we know what happens in the underground. They know we know it. That's why they had to give us a pandemic to one of the reasons. Because we're figuring the whole thing out. It's not just right in front of us. It's right underneath us. You think when you go to that house, that JonBenet Ramsey house, people go, like before any of this happened, or you go past it now or something that looks like it, you think you go, oh, what a beautiful home. Oh, what a beautiful little satanic temple home that is. Let's go buy it. No, everybody can see the satanic symbolism, just like when you see a white dove, a cross, a manger, you think of Christianity. Well, for the Satanists now we have our map legend. Now we can understand and identify who you are. It works both ways. Anyways, somebody said, where to see the film? Go to, just type Dean Ryan, my name, and in fact, just type Dean Ryan TV, and there's my name. And again, if you're just joining us, thank you for joining the JonBenet Ramsey Revelations live Q&A with yours truly, me, Dean Ryan, the executive producer, filmmaker. I don't get to say filmmaker as much these days because I'm so busy, but this was something that needed to come out and has to come out now. I think somebody asked me, why now? Why now? Why are you releasing this now? Because I think we're at a very watershed moment of evolution of our thoughts and minds, that we can now understand and decipher what is satanic and what is, fraudulent, what is real, and not just saying, like Geraldo Rivera took this story with JonBenet Ramsey and just totally made it salacious and very tabloidy, that if you even mention parents or something of that realm of doing something like this, you'd be called, conspiracy theorists, or you'd be called like, that's National Enquirer. Yeah, thank you, Geraldo. Thanks for nothing. Yeah, he's such a little, he's one of them too, I bet you. Don't sue me, but I mean, the guy's taken, it's just, the people reporting on this sometimes at that level, they're involved. So anyways. Okay, so go to, it's on YouTube, Dean Ryan TV. It's going to be on realdealmedia.com soon. If we're in the middle of, the website's done, it's transferring it to the new host. So thank you for inquiring. Come back to this YouTube channel and you'll see everything. And provided they're not, deleting this. Who knows these days? So that's where you can find it. So any more questions? Let's see here. Okay, somebody said, I've got a picture of Geraldo half naked with Anthony Weiner. Yeah, he defends Anthony Weiner, doesn't he? Like they're good friends. Okay, so anyways, I'll probably end it here soon in about a few minutes. I thought, I'm glad I had the opportunity to get this off my chest. So, and again, thank you for joining us. It's one rare occasion I can actually do something film-wise. I've wanted to do this, and I thought now was good. So let me just sum it up. I'll sum everything up here of what I experienced, what has happened since. Okay, so all in all, after this happened, and weird things happened to me. I have like a stack of papers with everything on it. There was like more things that the judge talked about. That he talked about satanic psychics that are used by the prosecution, or the courts rather, to go after people they want, particularly whistleblowers. They do not like whistleblowers. I mean, this judge was so ahead of his time. I mean, this was like 2003 or whatever it was when he was given this. And he talked about the corruption of the police departments. He talked about the clandestine real estate ventures that the officials get their families involved in. Yeah, where did we see that? We saw that in Ukraine, with Pelosi's, the Mitt Romneys, and all them. They do these payoffs, as the judge, that was his terminology. And they do, so this has been going on for a long time, and we have a very corrupt government from small to mid to high. That these people, so that's what when it comes down to it, that's who we're really fighting. We're not just fighting Democrats or Republicans or this or that. We're fighting evil. And a lot of people don't want to come to that reckoning because it really destroys their worldview, their little college worldview of, no, how can that be? Where's their label? No, that's too comic book. No, that's who we're fighting. And if you've noticed, one of the people that was named in it was a very famous lawyer whose picture I dared not put on there, but Robert Shapiro. He was the prosecutor in Boulder. Now, I'll be honest with you, I did not know that until I did this recently. He helped fumble this case. And that head prosecutor guy with the mustache, Hunter, I remember him from TV when I was really young. He's now vacationing somewhere, hiding for his life in New Mexico because his job's done. He did his dirty deed. He covered it up. Now, in closing, because I've shared a lot here, and I don't want to go on too long. God, it's almost an hour. If you can't watch this again, and if you can get past the emotions, and I know it's very Hitchcockian, somebody told me. But if you can get past that stuff, the emotions of it, take notes. Look at the places that I named, the Papusa Club, and all that stuff around Boulder, Colorado. Like Evergreen, the satanic meetings happen in the caves. They love the woods because nobody can hear you scream. That's why they want the woods. That's why I'll never live there. I wouldn't live anywhere in the forest. I don't care if it's Sherwood Forest and just won't do it. Yeah, but so take notes of all the places these people go. And these people that were also named by the judge, the other prosecutors that are now judges, they're still alive. They know what happened. They know the truth. They're still practicing law. So how many more similar cases or how many more atrocities have occurred at the hands or lack thereof of these people in the legal system and law? There could be hundreds of JonBenet Ramsey stories that we're not privy of knowing. Like the one kid, Timothy Masters. He was blamed for a death in Boulder of a patient of a doctor who just sliced up his patient in a satanic ritual sacrifice. So how many more of these stories that we don't even know at the hands of these people? And the other question is, I would ask you, have you ever known or read about a great district attorney? Every time we hear about district attorneys, we just hear what a POS they are. So it's amazing to me. Amazing. Just so if you can stomach it, take notes, and you're going to learn something. It's a big rabbit hole, and maybe one day this will be reopened. Maybe. I don't know. But this is a very resilient audience. If you've watched this movie tonight, just consider yourself ahead of the rest. They don't dare put this story. They don't dare put someone like me on network television or in the magazines. They don't dare ever invite someone like me with this story on a mainline show. No, why would they? And some of them just don't want it because they don't want to take the heat, and I can't blame them. But maybe I like the heat. Maybe I like the heat because I was born in the cold, so I want more heat. That's how I see it. So with that said, on that wonderful high note, I want to thank you for joining me for this JonBenet Ramsey Revelations live Q&A. A lot of good questions. It's good to see myself from 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, to then 3 years ago. It's like I just time traveled with myself. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night. To all my friends and regulars here.